Welcome to the Groove Dudes podcast. My name is Tabor, over on the drums, drumming us in. It's my main man, Cody. We're the podcast for breaking down drum beats and busting chops. And today we got something really, really cool for you. I've been doing this with a lot of my drum students. I call it the fill generator. So if you've been feeling a little stale around the drum kit, we're going to show you a concept today. Oh, that was tasty. A concept today that will make it so you're not stale and bored, but actually quite challenged and frustrated. And then once you're done being challenged and frustrated, you have new stuff that you can do.
The goal is frustration. So when you've hit that level of anger, you're there. You're doing it right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you don't scream at your snare drum and or floor tom once per practice, no, I'm joking.
Just kidding. No, you should. This should alleviate frustration. Actually,
yes,
creative frustration specifically.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, dude, you doing good? Shall we dive into this?
I'm doing so good, and I will say real quick, this is going to be good because I think if you're like me and you have limited time to play the drums, we all do. So that's a stupid thing to say, but everybody's got some limit to when they can play, or at least some self-imposed limits. And yeah, sure, there's an argument you can make about time you make for practice and all that. But at the end of the day, we feel like we have certain limits. And when I sit down and play drums, I want to have fun with it more often than not. And so I get out of the habit of learning new things, especially with fills. My personal strength, I think I'm really good at making unique beats that groove well. And I think my fills are okay. I'm not crazy about my fills. And so what I fall into a lot is I play a lot of the same fills or the same rudiments in similar patterns across drums. Or maybe it's the same kind of rudiments and patterns just across different drums, but kind of fall into these same pre-worn trails, And so what you're going to show us is like, okay, some ideas to say, let's burn some new trails into this mountain instead of using the same trails that we're comfortable using, right?
Absolutely, dude.
Fair?
Yeah, that was said beautifully. Because you're right. I think every drummer out there, we kind of fall into the same mode for a couple practices. Then it's like, okay, I want to get something new going on. So yeah, I've been using this with my students of all levels. But I'm gonna break it down first as if I'm talking to beginner drummers, just to kind of lay out the concept, and then I think you and I will have some fun seeing how we can melt each other's brains with it. So
yeah, dude.
The concept goes as follows, right? We pick a sticking and we pick a note value. And just to make it simple, we're going to do a whole measure of 4/4 of this stuff. So I'm going to choose really simply 8th notes, single stroke roll. And you start that on the snare drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Right?
Dude, you're right.
All right, work on your time, practice to a click. All right, these are for folks that are just brand new to drums. And then with that particular sticking, all of my 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s are with my right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, and all my ands are with my left. And 4, and, right? And so knowing that, you just start choosing a number and a different drum. So Cody, hit me with a number 1 through 4, and then choose one of my toms for me.
It's going to be 3 on the floor tom, dude. Three on the floor tom. Did that come through?
So number 3, that came through. There we go. It's a little jittery, but 3 on the floor tom. So very good, very good. So I've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Right, speed that way up. Now, instead of just a snare drum build, you got something with a little variation in it. So before you go any further, you throw on an 8-note groove, and you see if you can just add that floor tom on the 3. So you're 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
There you go. Okay.
And you practice that up until that's very natural.
Yeah.
And then choose another number and a different drum. So hit me, Cody.
Right. So very intentional fills. You know what I mean? Really easy to get unintentional with fills is what I was getting at. So this is very intentional.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's intentional right now, but the randomness of it is going to jumble it up.
Yeah. All right. So I said 3. So let's do 2 and 3. And with the 2 can be on, I don't know, dude. Should we do the 2 on the hi-hat? Make you hate me?
Heck yeah. No, that's fine. I'll just keep it closed because the open hi-hat doesn't come through well on the electronics. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now we got a totally new fill. Sounds sick, right?
Yeah, sweet.
And what's cool about that is me organically, just as a drummer, like, okay, I want to create new fills today. I would probably never do that as, but now we just created it. Now, where I'm finding speeding it up gets tricky and where my beginner students start to not be able to play these things and hit that frustration we were joking about at the start of the episode is adding a third variable, but this time on an and. So it's going to be left-handed. So if my student goes, the and of 3 on the China, well, if we follow the rules of this game, now I got to be crossing over 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Oh, yeah.
So it kind of teaches new students, like, if I'm doing a single stroke roll and I want to tag something over here, you start to get a flow a little bit or learn that might be easier to play as a double right or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'll maybe choose something more conducive. We'll do the and of 2 on the hi-hat as well.
Right. There you go. See, okay, and, all right. So real quick, that just changes the feel of that entirely, right? Because before it was like, like it was like just felt like a normal linear beat. Now this feels like you're crescendoing out of a floor tom into a snare, right back into the beat. Even though you just switched one note, It's cool.
Yeah, dude, and it's been crazy. I have challenged my students to kind of come up with things that they, like try to stump me. One of my guys did this with a double paradiddle. I kind of remember how he did it. Right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, left.
Oh, yeah.
And just by moving that around, you got that up to speed. It's kind of this cool, little funky, choppy thing, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, so there's the concept. You choose a sticking and a note value, and then you just slowly start changing where those counts are placed around the kit, and you kind of come up with some things that you probably wouldn't just do naturally if you said to yourself, I want to play single stroke eighth notes as creatively as possible. Right? You come up with some weird stuff, but doing it this way is kind of like a game. So if there's anyone listening that teaches young kids, my 5-year-old students that are we do it one-handed. We normally do like 4 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
It's fun for them because they're like, oh, I'm going to put, you choose a number. Oh, I get to choose. I'll choose the 2. Okay, 2 on the high tom. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
And I'm secretly just getting them to practice their timing longer than
that's how you know
their
you
normal
have
attention
kids,
span.
Because you're like, I'm going to give you options within a controlled space, but I'm in charge of the options.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, then you don't always do a fill for a whole measure. So, say you have it starts as an 8th note fill, then turns into 16ths partway through, and you're starting on the and of 3. So let's see, 3 and 4 and. So you have 3/8 notes to mess around with before you hit the 1, assuming the fill ends on the 1.
Right.
But let's say, you're changing some of those to 16ths. You do the same game, you just figure it out, and now you're creating something spicier at the end of your, starting on the and a 3, for example.
Oh, yeah, dude. Dude, slap me with some of these. Give me something. Treat me like tell me I'm a 5-year-old and I'll pick stuff. No, yeah, whatever. Throw it at me.
No. All right. So let's just stick with the single stroke, right?
Okay.
Single stroke 8th notes, but your home base is not the snare; it's the hi-hat. So everything's going to be rooted off of here. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and any changes, you're going to come back to your hats instead of the snare like I showed it.
Oh, okay.
And let's put the 1 on the floor tom, the 2 on the high tom, and a 2 and on the snare.
Okay, so like that, right?
Yeah.
Wait, no. You said right here. There we go.
2 and 3. Yeah.
Like that, right? So.
Yeah.
Like that, right?
Yeah.
Whoopsies. There we go. Nope, see, I'm screwing it up now.
Yeah.
See, I really want snare to be home base. So that's
Just finish on the snare, right?
That's a very good idea, right? Because right now I've got those snare is the home base for fills, for me and probably for a lot of us, for you too, I assume. And so,
yes,
you saying hi-hat's the home base right now is a mental shift. I got all this muscle memory that's like, nah, dude, you want to be here because it's a fill.
Yeah, exactly.
This is your main drum on a fill. The toms are nice, but let's be real.
It's all about the snare.
Sings the melody on fills generally. And so saying that with the hi-hat, let's break my brain a little bit. There we go.
Yeah.
I should slow it down probably.
Dude.
There we go.
Yeah. And what's cool is you're playing it as 16th notes coming in on 3, which is cool. Because, you're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 or 1E and a 2E or 3E and a. See, I can't do it the way you just did it because my brain is wired the other way. 3E and a 4E and a 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3E and a 4E and a.
That's a good point.
But,
or maybe the joke's on you, and I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's a matter of perspective.
Right on. So, yeah. So if we are counting it in 8th notes, from 3 to the end, play it as triplets. So 1 and 2 and triplet. Right.
Yeah.
But then we're going to start moving those triplets around too.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Right. And now, so you can see how this idea starts off simple. Like sometimes I've thought, man, this is too dumb. Like throwing a floor tom on 1, like that's kind of boring. But as soon as you add 3 or 4 different things.
Right.
Now all of a sudden that floor tom is like, oh crap, that's hard now.
everything you deviate from becomes new from the normal. And so
yes.
No matter how dumb or how slow it feels and silly you might feel, especially if you're used to this kind of stuff. If it's different than your normal approach, then your body's going to resist it, And so that's exactly why it's, it could be super simple. Like for me, my brain was breaking with the snare. And so that was a good example of how do we break that standard that I've sucked myself into and really allow me to pave some new trails. And so, I mean, as simple as it can be, that's great. I want you to maybe that's an idea for everyone. Go in here, do something simple that breaks your brain a little bit. Something easy that breaks your brain. Start there. As you get familiar with the pattern, what Tabor's talking about with switching things out and maybe starting to introduce triplets, or maybe you want to do a drag and one of the fills or something like that. Spice it up. By all means, but once you become familiar with the pattern, it kind of opens up a whole. I'm not going to start singing a whole new world, but it does.
A whole new world. I got you.
There we go. We should start a singing podcast.
I am a singing at the party.
Ramses is not singing. Yeah, we did that right before this.
All
show.
Right. Yeah, we did. Oh, dude, that's good time. So yeah, I think one more thing I'd like to add, and then maybe we close out if that's good on time. But so I don't know if I've taken away any like permanent things like, oh, this is a fill I know now from doing this exercise. But last jam, my bass player and I were grooving. He's like, dude, you're doing all sorts of different stuff than what I normally hear, because we play together all the time. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, you never like do that combination. And I got to credit it to, doing this with my students, and they say wild things, where we're reaching across with the left hand, or things are really weird and tricky just within a single stroke roll. And I think, so even like subconsciously, I think it's having a positive effect on my playing, where I'm breaking the norm, which I guess is maybe the title of this episode. I don't know. Breaking,
dude. Yeah. Well, that's a good point too. You got these other people who think differently than you, who are suggesting patterns that you're not going to naturally think about. So again, if you got drummer buddies, or in fact in the comments here, that's what we should really aggregate, is people throw out some ideas so that we can share those, and we can say, okay, well, someone else thinking differently than me, because I was never going to think that hi-hat was the home bass. Tabor thought that for me. I'm like, oh, it's a good idea. So maybe other people and their thoughts, their thought patterns being different from ours alone is going to give you new ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. I've wanted to create a series of flashcards. Like you just take one and you chuck it on the floor, and it's like 3 ride cymbal.
Yeah.
Or so, so like, so different ways to mix it up.
Yeah.
But dude, awesome. I'm glad you liked the idea, Cody.
Oh yeah, I did.
I'm glad my making hi-hat opened up some things for you, dude.
Sensei.
Yeah.
We call you're Sensei Tabor. Dude, we should do that. Because Tabor used to teach karate forever. Right? Karate,
I did,
right?
for a long, long time.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Karate. No,
Karate. Yeah, so you can be Sensei, and I can be bruh. You know what I mean?
Sensei dude.
Sensei dude?
Or dude sensei.
Dude say. All right, I'll drum us out, my dude.
Sick, dude. That was just so much fun. Thank you for listening to the Dude Grooves podcast. You can find us on Dude Grooves Pod on Instagram, Facebook, Dude Grooves Podcast on YouTube. Tell your mom, tell your aunt, tell your nephew. Come jam out with us. We hope you feel inspired to play, learn something, enjoy hanging out with us. We love hanging out with each other. It's always a good time. So we will see you in the next episode. Peace.